Hi there, Sweets, Treats, and Eats fans. I want to introduce you to our new sponsor for this episode. It's Knack, K-N-A-C-K. It's more than a bag. It's a multifunction marvel that gives you the freedom to grab and go. So in the office, you can put your computer and all the things that go with the computer and the office, and you go day to day back and forth to the office. But when you have that weekend getaway that you want to quick grab and go, it turns into a nice piece of luggage where you can put all of your clothes and your toiletries together and you're off to the races. So Knack has a special promotion for viewers of this episode. If you go to their website and you purchase a bag, you will get a free TSA approved lock for your bag. So when you go to the site and order the bag, just type in promo code EAT, E-A-T, and you will get the lock at no charge. I think that's great. And I'd just like to welcome Knack to the Sweets, Treats, and Eats family. Welcome to Living Life, the show that allows you to pursue things that make you happy, curious, and keep you open-minded. This is Living Life on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome to this episode of Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, presented by Knack. I'm Howie Morgasen. On this episode, we're going to talk about St. Patrick's Day. And St. Patrick's Day is the anniversary of the death of St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland. So on today's program, we're going to make 4 dishes. We're going to make an Irish soda bread, really tasty. We're going to make a shepherd's pie, twice baked potato. And then we're going to make a Reuben Nachos, really cool. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to make St. Patrick's Day bark. So I have my buddies Lucky and O'Reilly here with me today. So guys, why don't we get started with Irish soda bread? All right, so let's make some Irish soda bread. So what I have here in these 2 bowls, first I have the dry ingredients, which is all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, and baking soda. Soda is what gives us the rise in this particular bread. Over here, I have buttermilk and I have an egg. And the egg also gives us some rise. So to get started, I'm gonna take the flour and I have the butter, which I've had in the refrigerator until just now. So you want it to be really cold. And you also want to cut it up into small cubes so that it's easy to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the butter into the flour and then do what they call cutting. And I'm going to take the butter and I'm going to massage it into the flour. And what I want to do is work it into like crumbs, like medium to small size crumbs. And you're going to take it and just massage it to get it all worked in. Okay, so now that we have it worked in, you can see that there are some bigger pieces, but there's also the small pieces that we have here. And that's going to make the soda bread nice and smooth. Okay, so we have that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a little hole in the center here. And we're going to take our buttermilk and egg mixture and we're going to pour it in. Okay. And then we're going to take our spoon and we're just going to mix it all together and continue mixing. So you can see the dough has come together. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the dough out of the bowl. It's a little sticky, it's supposed to be, so not a problem. And we're going to put the dough onto the cutting board, which we floured to make sure it wouldn't stick. And then I'm going to take a little flour and put it on my hands. And then I'm just going to basically take the dough and form it into a ball. So that's the first part of it. So now that I have it in a ball, we're going to do this process called kneading, where we develop the gluten in the bread. And what you want to do is you flatten it out a little, you fold it over one way, you fold it over the other way, you rotate it, you fold it over this way, you fold it over that way. And so we're going to knead this for a couple of minutes to develop the gluten, and then when we come back, we're going to get it ready for the oven. All right, so I've been kneading it for a while, and then one thing also you will notice is that I put the raisins into the dough. Now, you can put the raisins in earlier, like right before you mix it in the bowl. I just honestly forgot, so I added it later on. So kneading it, as I said, activates the gluten in there. So now what we're going to do, we'll take a little more flour here, is we're now going to form it into a ball. And you just want to form it with your hands the best you can. Okay, so as you can see, I have it in a ball, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lift it up, okay, and then we're going to put it in our cast iron pot, which we have right here, right in the middle, and we have some parchment paper in there, and then important, you want to take a knife and you want to make a small cross at the center of the top and make sure that goes through a little bit and put it through. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in a 400-degree oven, and it's going to go in for a total of 45 minutes, but after 25 minutes you're going to put aluminum foil over the top and then bake it the rest of the way, and then we'll see how it comes out.
Hi, I'm Jerry Barmash, host of Here Now the News. I've used this microphone over the years for radio work, and I take that mic and the experience to this weekly podcast. If you've been a regular viewer, you know guests have varied from politics to pop culture. There was a bartender who wrote about his adventures making drinks at Hamilton. Petrie Hawkins Bird chatted about his working relationship with Judge Judy coming to an abrupt end. And there are plenty more where that came from. Here Now the News, part of the Empty the Bench podcast network, features one-on-one engaging, entertaining interviews. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Here Now the News on YouTube. And thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Sweets, Treats, and Eats. And we're going to talk about a really good dish. But before I get into it, I just wanted to mention our social network location. So at Living Life ETV is where you'll find all kinds of good information about the show and other shows on Living Life. So now we're going to make some shepherd's pie twice-baked potatoes. And it's really dishes that are great by themselves, but when you put them together, it's really nice. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the preparation I did to get to this point. So we started out here with the meat part of the dish. And we have ground beef, and we added to it diced peppers, and onions, and we cooked that up, and then we added a whole bunch of spices to it. We put salt and pepper, steak seasoning, Worcestershire sauce, tomato paste, and garlic. And then at the end, we put in a package of frozen vegetables, peas, carrots, and corn. And then we cooked it all until the vegetables became soft. And that's the meat part of the dish. The potato part of the dish, we roasted these baked potatoes in the oven. First we scrubbed them, and then we covered them with oil, and then we cooked them in the oven for about an hour. We took them out of the oven, we gave them a minute or two to cool, and then we cut these tracks on the top of them, and we scooped out all the potato. And then we mixed it together. We mixed it with butter, and we put whipping cream, sour cream, cheese, and chives. So it's really awesome combination of stuff in the mashed potatoes. So now we have the bottom, which is the meat, and we have the top, which is the potatoes. And now we're going to make the twice-baked shepherd's pie. So we take the skins that we have here, and we take some of the meat filling, and we put it in the bottom, and we spread it out. We'll take a little bit more. Okay, and maybe just a drop more, and we spread it out there. Then we take some of the mashed potato, we put that in, we push it down so it gets way into it. And make sure we push it way down into the skin. And that's how simple it is. So why don't we do another one? So we start out with some meat. So let's just move this one down over here, put this here so it's easy to get to. We'll take a little bit of the meat mixture. We'll put it in the bottom. Make sure you push it down so it gets on all sides of it. That looks great. Then we go in for some of the mashed potatoes. And we push those in as well. Now I'm going to make up the rest of them, but let me tell you what's going to happen. So after you get them stuffed, you're going to put them in the oven at 375 for 20 minutes, and then you're going to take it out, and then you're going to put grated cheese, cheddar, and chives across the top, and back in the oven for 10 minutes, and you'll have these awesome shepherd's pie twice baked potatoes.
You're watching Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench podcast network. If you're looking for a new favorite podcast in the areas of sports, pop culture, or news and entertainment, you should check out some of the fresh voices and fresh perspectives on the Empty the Bench podcast network. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at ETB Network. Again, that's both on Facebook and Twitter at ETB Network. The Empty the Bench podcast network. We're more than just sports.
Welcome back to Sweets, Treats, and Eats. And we're in the home stretch. We have 2 more dishes to go, but this is a really cool dish that I came across when I was doing research for this episode. These are Ruben Nachos. Now, initially I was thinking, for a St. Patrick's Day episode, corned beef and cabbage. But then, it's a lot of work, and and you got to do timing and stuff. And I said, okay, how about a Reuben sandwich? So Reuben sandwich is rye bread with corned beef and sauerkraut and Thousand Island dressing. And that was pretty cool. And I was thinking about that. But then I came across these, which are Ruben Nachos. And I said, how cool is this? So you can set this up as nachos. Or you can use it as an appetizer. If you have people coming over at the last minute, you're looking for something to throw together, you can do that. So it's very simple. I'm using scoops, which are the tortilla chips shaped like a scoop. I'm using corned beef, which I picked up at the deli counter, and I cut up very small. I have sauerkraut, and the sauerkraut, you really have to drain it well. So initially, I put it in a strainer over a pot, and I let it sit for a little bit. And then I put it in a pot and I heated it just to see if I can get all the juice out of it, because juice is sort of the enemy of this. It would make the chips soggy. And then I have Swiss cheese over here because Reuben has Swiss cheese in it. So it's very simple to do. So let's put some together. So we start out with the corned beef. We put it in the scoop, and then we take a little bit of sauerkraut and we put that in there. And then we take some Swiss cheese and we sort of put it over the top like that. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to do a couple of them here, and then we're going to finish up the tray like we usually do. So there's the corned beef, a little bit of the sauerkraut that we have here, and then some Swiss cheese over the top. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It's all going to melt together and it's going to look great. So we have the corned beef that we have here, a little bit of sauerkraut, and then some Swiss cheese over the top. So I'm going to keep working on these, and at the end, when we tie it all together, we're going to show you what the full tray looks like.
Hey, I'm Tony Montori Jr. I know you've been following us and watching us on Living Life Home Design Concepts is my show. There's lots of shows and lots of interesting things going on here. I like to bring a new tip or tip of the month kind of thing to you, where I talk about design concepts, how to make it easier to hang pictures, how to enhance the energy in your home, or just decorating in general. So join me and look for a new episode of Tony Montori Jr. on Living Life Home Design Concepts, and I'll help you solve some of your home decorating situations.
Welcome back to Sweets, Treats, and Eats. And now we are definitely in the home stretch. So here is something that I made, which should look familiar to you, from one of our first episodes that we did, the Halloween episode. We did a whole section on barks using chocolate. And this is an example of another bark that you can make. So if you want more details on how to make bark, you can look back at that episode at the Living Life part on YouTube, and you can find the video there. Let me talk a little bit about how we put this together. This is a multi-layer bark, so it's kind of interesting. We started out by melting milk chocolate, and that is the brownish chocolate that you can see around the edge. And when that's melted, we spread it out on a tray, and then we took St. Patrick's Day Oreos with the green mint cream in the middle, put those in a bag and smashed them all up using a rolling pin, and then we spread those out across the milk chocolate, and we let that set. Then we melted the white chocolate, which you see here, and then we poured the white chocolate over the top and we spread it out, and then we put St. Patrick's Day M&Ms with chocolate mint in the middle, and we put St. Patrick's Day sprinkles and decorations on it. So that's how we put this bark together. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of cut it up so that we can put it on a nice platter. So what you need to do is just take your knife and push down as best you can, like that. Then we'll come back here and we'll cut it again. And what I wanted to show you is, I want to show you what the two-layer looks like, but you can see that the Oreos and the milk chocolate are there. So I'm going to keep going here and cut up the rest of this and put it on a platter, and we'll show it to you in our finale, which is coming right up. Welcome back to Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats. I'm Howie Morgasen, and we've made it to the finale. And as you can see, our St. Patrick's Day celebration really turned out great. So let's sort of go through what we did for you today. We started out with the Irish soda bread, and here is the one that we baked today. Looks really good. Here's one that I baked yesterday. And so what I learned from baking this one yesterday was when you put the cross on the top, like I showed you, I went too deep and too far, so you can see that it blew up a little. Didn't take away from the taste of it. As you can see, it looks really good, and I can't wait to get into it. So here's the one we did today. You'll notice that it's flatter. I also put it in a wider dish, so it had a chance to spread out a little more. So that's the Irish soda bread. Then we made these great looking shepherd's pie twice baked potatoes, and that's what we have here. We put a little cheddar cheese and chive on the top and back into the oven for a little bit, get a little melty, and it's all ready to go. Then we made here the Ruben Nachos, and this was made with corned beef and sauerkraut and Swiss cheese. When we pulled it out of the oven, we put a little Thousand Island dressing on the top, because that's what goes into a Reuben, and boy does that look good. And then we finished off with the bark, and I talked to you about how I made it. We sliced it up and put it in a dish, and that looks great. So all in all, our St. Patrick's celebration looks really good. So if you want to know more about our show, you can go to our social network listing, which is at Living Life ETB. I also want to thank our sponsor, Knack, and welcome them to the Living Life Sweets, Treats, and Eats family. And then I wanted to thank Lucky and O'Reilly for joining us today on special loan from the Johnsons. So thank you for that as well. And we'll see you next time on Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats.